Man, LCO games this week were crazy. Did you hear actually? It was Rusty's birthday.
Wait, really? Facebook didn't alert me. I need to send him a TikTok right now.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks though, because even though it was his birthday, he just seemed like he was having a really sad time.
Yeah, I did notice he was acting up a bit on Twitter.
I just wish these teams would step it up, you know? They're all out there trying to establish their careers, grinding it out, cutting their teeth on the Rift, but if we could just make Rusty happy again, that'd be the best birthday present of all time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 16 of the Matchfix. I'm Shock, the investigator of LCO incidents, cataloger of solo queue creatures, and I'm joined by the fighter of fever and the man of a singular word, Amelg. So it is week 4 of the LCO, and we've finished our first round robin and actually started the second on our second day. So Amelg, what did you think of Direwolves versus PGG?
I think this was a match that people are kind of looking towards to help establish who's like the top 4 or the top 5 and like kind of like what the pecking order is within that.
Zone is still mega. He's got flash as well. He could look to try and shut them into the wall. He hit it onto Yuri, but Yuri went into the blood pool. Out goes the team fight as a result afterwards. So they try and get that team fight win. Dante untouched. Dante so strong. Predator is dead. Assassinated by the bear.
Direwolves looking pretty good, I think. One thing that I had a few question marks around was that mid matchup of Vlad versus Silas, because it's not one we see very often in the LCO.
Yeah, so I think draft was kind of interesting. It feels real mixed for me from PGG. It feels like they have, on one hand, they've got like these go buttons. I think they had very hard engaged. I think they had like Rakan Sejuani. It was like very, very strong engaged champs that really want to fight quite a bit. And then you kind of combo it with this Vlad and Graves, which like don't really want to fight, would prefer to kind of just like scale for a while and not get involved in too much. And I think honestly, PGG, they're a bit too impatient to play something like this. I think champions like Vlad and Graves are kind of made to like outscale and kind of like use tempo to win games. You know, I think Vlad gets priority over Silas, and I actually kind of like the Vlad pick in isolation because I think Suman, he has a very like concentrated or very small kind of archetype for his champion pool. It's all very similar. It's either like weak ranged laners or it's like melee laners, and I think Vlad does very well into these. So I actually like that they went for the Vlad, but then I just think it doesn't really suit PGG. They're just all throughout the game, there was like way too much fighting, and Vlad and Graves are both champions that accelerate very fast and so want the rest of the game to be very slow so that they can get to kind of accelerate themselves further. And so then when you've got stuff like this level 1 where PGG have like 2 deaths and just like a ton of like random fights throughout the game, overall, it was just like Direwolves, they've picked like much better just like skirmishing. You know, Silas is just made to get stuck in with the boys, and when he's ending up with 10 kills, and I think Yuri actually played the game pretty well, but it just really like snowballed out of their control. And I don't think this is the way PGG should go. I think they really need to have kind of an aggressive mid jungle and rely on Praetors for the late game, because I think they really just are not disciplined enough to play that sort of style.
Yeah, I think impatient, like the word you use, is like really good way to describe them, because you kind of see that impatience coming back to bite them like multiple times in that game. One moment specifically that stuck out for me was the dragon fight at around 16:30. I think Direwolves had already secured the dragon, but PGG had like a pretty good angle on the fight, and they got the initial pick onto Xeranis, who wasn't able to get Mega in time. But then they just like chase Poltron down the river, and then they get so greedy for this one kill that Balkan and Rogue like try to hop over the river wall to try and cut him off, and they just jump into the waiting arms with like 3 of the Direwolves members. And I don't know, I think that's just really like a microcosm of what PGG is as a team.
Yeah, no, that was really, really weird, especially because like Volibear, he didn't even have a bounty. Like they were just so horny for this one kill. And like, if you look at the map, I'm pretty sure like bot wave was pushing into them, mid wave was even, and then top wave was pushing into them. So if they just like don't kill this volley, or even if they kill volley, I think there might be more gold on the rest of the map. So yeah, they're just so
horny.
Yeah, that's really like the only way to put it. They just want to fight, and so I think it's better if they pick a composition that really like suits that.
I think the game-ending fight at around 25 minutes was like pretty interesting to watch, because there was a lot going on. It kind of started off with Xeranis finding a good flank onto Yuri, which forces him to use his pull pretty much like before the fight's even started. And that's already such a bad position to be in as Vlad, right? Because he doesn't have Zhonya's at that point either. He doesn't have flash up, so it really limits his options as to what he can do. Because he can't really, it's not even really Vlad at that point if you don't have your pull, right? Poltron and Zorinus literally just walk past PGG and run at the backline. They just start smacking them over and over again. And they actually survive so long. And they actually survive the whole fight. Whereas like the backline of Direwolves are kind of just chilling.
Yeah, I think like Vlad, he was in a good flank position, and I think his ult got Zonya'd by Silas. So like Vlad's not really doing any damage, and then Ezreal obviously is just like way too long range, just like poking down. And it was funny, Praedith, like when I watched the fight, I was like, okay, this Twitch has both sums. Like he's completely fine. And I watched it and he gets like flashed on and then like perma-CC'd down like 20% of his health. Because in the moment I was like Twitch used his flash really badly, but he doesn't really have an opportunity to flash after I went back and looked at it. It was like he was actually just perma-CC'd to his like 20% HP and then he finally flashes, but there's nothing he can do. These two tanks are just on his dick. There's nothing else he can do, yeah.
It might even also be like a mistake on PGG's part, right? Because Rogue is sort of starting off that fight on the complete opposite side to his Twitch, so he's not really able to peel for him. And actually, I need to call out like Rogue's engage. He's in like the pixel bush, and he does the thing where you like recant ult and then like flash W, but like he was already in range for the W, but he flashes one pixel. That made me laugh. But ADC struggles, I guess.
He struggles.
Just pick Israel.
No, I hate Ezreal. I swear Ezreal is so useless. Maybe this is a topic for another day.
Yes, my Ezreal.
But I hate Ezreal and I hate Jhin.
Jhin?
Well, the reason I don't, okay, today is the day for this topic. Okay, the reason I don't like these champs is I feel like in general, and we'll get to this in the Peace versus Direwolves game, is that they're too technical. You know, it's like way more difficult to execute when you don't just have like that reliable late game crit ADC. And also it's like they don't have, I guess like, Ezreal's a bit better, but like Jhin, no Baron DPS like whatsoever. So I really don't like these. And I actually much prefer just like the late game scaling crit ADCs. Yeah.
And you haven't seen Kitty Jhin and the Malg support.
Actually, I did see this live on Twitch TV/Malg__.
Speaking of ADCs, Peace subbing in Cheon for Violet for both games this week. What do you think?
Yeah, so as far as I know, Violet's just taking a break. And as far as I know, I mean, I definitely know he's taking a break. But yeah, I think it's kind of whatever in my mind. Like, I think both the ADCs, they're really fucking good players and they fulfill the exact same role in their team. Like, I don't think there's any like dynamic thing. They're not really shot callers. They're just very good at right-clicking. So I think, yeah, you probably win these games with Violet as well. But it is kind of nice, I think, just to have a refresher for everyone, right? Like a refresher for Violet and for Peace, just to kind of like get back on track. But going 2-0 this weekend is obviously very good for them.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you say that Violet probably would have won these games as well, right? But like, I don't know, it's weird. You have like this ADC superstar back from NA that you've kind of, I guess, kind of built your team around-ish. Most of it's the same from like last split, but like, you know what I mean? And the fact that they looked cleaner this week than they did with Violet is just like, it kind of raises a few question marks for me. I don't know,
man. I swear, like Violet, he had really good games, and like Cheon also played really well this weekend. But in my mind, the places to put criticism on Peace was never the ADC position, regardless of if it were Violet or Cheon playing. In my mind, now I'm just glad that mid jungle was stopped inting and top, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is like the turnaround point for Peace, you know?
So the last match of the day between Peace and Direwolves. Let's get into the draft.
Yeah, I think something that immediately stuck out was Viego top for Zorinus. I think it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this was a draft problem or a player problem, which we're definitely going to get to.
Yeah.
But I also think there are probably better choices. I think there are probably better choices. Let me just say that. But he definitely didn't make it easy for himself in the game.
Yeah.
But I thought one thing that was really interesting, and actually one thing that I liked is, as I said before, I think Suman, he's very good on like his small champion pool, but in my opinion, it's very exploitable. He's got too many champions for you to ban out, but they all kind of fit the same archetype. So I actually really like what Peace did on giving that Akali, and then they Direwolves banned Galio and TF, I believe it was, and then there's still Lissandra open. So I feel like Galio and Lissandra are probably better bans. I feel like TF is not that scary, but either way, it's like there were plenty of options up. And they definitely like punished this Akali blind pick in game.
Yeah, you can really tell they were juicing up, ready to slam that Lissandra. And yeah, it just makes the game hard for Akali, right? It's not very fun, not a very good time.
I like it just because I feel like so far teams have been making Suman's job very, very easy. I really think that, like, he's a skilled player, don't get me wrong, but his champion pool is like extremely lacking. Yeah. And I haven't seen people really target it beyond bans so far when it's like very clear what he's going to pick.
Do you think this could be kind of like the start of other teams realizing that this is the way you beat him? You beat his champion pool?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'm not sure still if teams will leave up Akali because I feel like that is still a decent blind pick. And I think, again, like if they had done the bans a bit better, they probably would have had a pretty like good time on the Akali. But just in general, I think teams that, I think you just take red side versus Direwolves, like give your mid last pick, or alternatively, like just pick a champ blind that does very well into these like melee assassins and like weak ranged laners. Like I think the only ranged laners he really plays is champs like Ahri and LeBlanc, who, they're honestly not too difficult to play against if you're expecting them. Yeah.
Tien flings the ultimate out, doesn't really land. Heartbreaker to try and disengage away. Lisa with the flash kick straight back into his team. There's a double kill. Just like that, Direwolves have found what they did not want.
This game was pretty exciting. Honestly, there was like non-stop action all throughout. Starting very early in the game, Direwolves bot lane get 2v2'd by the Peace bot lane, which is a bit of a yikes. I don't think that's the best. And then Viego dies to like a level 3 gank, which is an even bigger yikes because I feel like Viego, the way this, in my mind, that this matchup would work is Viego can build like Bork Kraken and maybe do like pretty well in the Sejuani in the side lane. I think there are probably better champs to do this with, but it could work. And Zoranus, he's never played real champs. He's always played like bad champs. That's pretty much the only way to say it. But yeah, if you fall behind, I feel like you set that timer back of you being able to win the side lane a very, very long time. And on top of that, Viego doesn't really function very well from behind. Like he gets ahead and he snowballs harder. But if you fall behind early, it can be very, very difficult. Okay, there was some interesting stuff. There was like a dive top of level 6. Akali came up and they like traded. But then, okay, this was like triggering me as a mid laner. So at 7 minutes, Akali, she does not have TP and she hasn't based yet and she's walking back to mid. And Lissandra has come back to mid with a lost chapter and is going to be able to lock this Akali into lane forever. And Akali is eventually just going to have to lose a lot and it's going to convert into like a dive or objective or something for peace. So it's looking really, really good for Appy. I would be so erect at this moment, right? But then Lee Sin, he like walks in and like tries to do the red and dies, and then Akali gets another kill, and that would just deflate me, man. Like there is really no other way to say it. I think Appy would have been like mega triggered at that, and I don't think anyone else really like feels the way about that I do. But for me, that was like, oh my god, this is like the perfect moment for Appy just to start railing this guy. But instead, he just gets away with it, and it always annoys me, man, when people play champs that are like weak in lane and are greedy like that and should get punished and they don't. I don't know. I feel your pain, Appy. That really annoyed me. And then, okay, it does not stop there. It does not stop there, believe me. At 9 minutes, this was more a general Oceanic trigger than a mid lane thing. But I swear, in Oceanic, like nothing else matters except the 5v5. Like forget macro, forget, intelligent gameplay. Everything comes down to a 5v5 on an ultimately not that important objective. And I think this is where like I really prefer teams that do just pick like the easier comps. Like I think just accept that we suck, right? Okay. I'll go on a longer tangent here because I am the Malphite Orianna connoisseur from 2020, me and Chippies, right? So I think that on one hand, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get better, test your limits and stuff like that. But I think, testing these more advanced comps and like practicing them, it's really a thing for scrims. I think on stage at the moment, like just the way the teams are playing, just accept or just be like willing to pick those like really strong 5v5 comps because that's pretty much like from my observation what most of the games are coming down to. I'm really not seeing much of like really advanced rotations or anything like like using prio and like steps and diving lanes are really early. I'm not really seeing any of that really advanced gameplay, and to be honest, part of that is just the meta. Like it is a very like team fighting meta. The games are very slow, and so I think teams that pick like strong scaling 5v5 comps, they have a very easy time. So back to the Herald where we're 5v5ing over something that doesn't really matter that much. It was like just compare the Lissandra compared to what was yesterday's pick? The Vlad. So just compare in this fight, by the way, how impactful Lissandra was compared to, say, Vlad. And I don't think Vlad's a bad champion, but Lissandra just goes in, 4-man W, and then a 4-man ult. Absolutely 1v9's the fight. And it's like, yeah, we could play the Vlad instead of this. But it's like, ultimately, we're just making the game like way, way harder for themselves. So I really like what Peace did with the draft, just very simple comp, and it lets them win these 5v5s that just... Every game is like this at the moment.
Especially like if you look at even just like the champions that Direwolves have, like it feels like there's like a lot of steps to putting together what the team comp actually function or does at its function, right? Whereas you can have something much easier like Peace, we press these buttons and then Twitch autos them and we win the game and we win the LCO, go to the Worlds, win Worlds.
Yeah, I feel like it is that. I do want to like reiterate, I'm not just trying to like attack the team's skill level, because I feel like just in the current meta, it is very rewarded anyway to play these like 5v5 ball comps, because just the more technical comps just can't achieve as much. You know, the snowballing is much reduced. There's like significant comeback mechanics. So while I think there is like an element of if teams play better, perhaps they can play more advanced compositions, it's just so easy at the moment to play these like 5v5 comps. So now that my early game rant is over, it's time for the mid game. I actually think the mid game was played a lot better by both teams, but I think one thing that I wasn't too sure about is the 16-30 when Direwolves decided to trade third dragon for the top tower. Now, normally I think this is very good. You get a lot of gold. Obviously, in terms of like value in the current moment, it's definitely favored towards just like taking that top tower. But I kind of feel like the golden Viego honestly isn't that useful. Like he's kind of just like not really relevant in this game. And I also think that Direwolves get really heavily outscaled. So I think that they actually need to stack up these drags. So I think obviously if they can't win the fight, like they shouldn't take it, right? But I think at this point in the game, they actually can realistically win this fight. And I really think they should have contested it, because in my mind, for your kind of win con here, it's like you have a strong mid-game team comp, you get to 4 drags, and then maybe you can end the game off that. But I think just like giving up this drag and Peace getting, you know, obviously the 1 dragon, it doesn't actually change anything. Yeah. It's more that it delays your dragon win con.
Yeah, it gives them like a safety net.
Yeah, exactly. It just gives you like an extra 6 or 5 minutes or whatever of scaling. So yeah, I didn't really like that. And then there was the Baron.
Oh, the Baron, the Direwolves Baron?
The Direwolves Baron.
That was interesting. So Lisa was on the dragon, and then Direwolves were like, all right, we got 5 people here. Let's fucking do it. And then they fucking did it. And I'm actually honestly surprised they mostly got away with it. They only lost 2 people, and it looked like it could have potentially been all of them, honestly, if it had gone a little bit differently. I think Appy goes in, Lissandra, 5 people fucking cornered in the pit, ready to take the Bard portal, but like they're still trying to finish off with the Barons. So it's, I don't know, I feel like Direwolves got pretty lucky there. That could have been really bad.
Yeah, I'll do a little deep dive on this. Okay. So I actually like the decision to start the Baron. It's kind of weird because they don't have a Kali ult, but like I said, I feel like they are going to get outscaled. Like they need to do something. It may not look like it because the gold I think was pretty even, but they're really on the clock here. Yeah. There's like Twitch Yuumi is going to just roll them later in the game, right? So I like that they started it. And then I saw something, and I will admit I'm guilty of this as well, but people getting hit by the Baron knockup.
Oh, yeah.
3 people got knocked out by Baron, and that slows your DPS by so much. And I mean, I always do this too. I always get hit by that. But like, come on, guys. You guys are pros and I'm not. Well, anyway, yeah. No, it is kind of like, it does go under the radar because like when people are doing it, they're always thinking about so much other stuff. You know, you're thinking about like, where do I position in the pit? Like, where are they going to come from? Like, where are our wards? Can they steal? Like, there's a lot going through your mind. And the last thing you think about is that tiny little circle of the Baron knockup. But it's actually very important because it was super close, like you said, at the end. And I actually think it could have been good if Ezreal lived. So Ezreal had a 400 gold shutdown at the time. Twitch managed to pick it up, so gets 700 gold, accelerates him a lot. I think Ezreal towards the end could have just E'd the wall and then kept queuing over the wall. Like I think the reason he didn't, right, is because they were thinking like we need every ounce of DPS. But I actually think if they dodged the Baron knockup, I say dodged, it's, you know, if they had not
Moved out
stood
of the
on
way.
it, yeah, I think they would have killed it like fast enough. And I think if Ezreal had just not died, like if everything else had happened the same, they got the Baron, most of them died, but not Ezreal, I actually think they come out ahead. But because of it, I think they come out slightly behind. Do you have anything to say about that 25-minute fight?
It starts off with Peace being quite far up in mid, and Zoranus actually finds a pretty decent flank onto Cheon, and he kind of just blows his whole load on Cheon.
Wow, we're getting very sexual today.
You were doing it before. I have to try and weave him in, you know. He blows his whole load on Cheon, and Siemens also there. I swear they use like everything, but Cheon lives on like a sliver of HP, and that's kind of like the point. Like I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, it's too late now. You know, he's reached that point where like he's just able to like survive, and if he can survive, that's just not winnable, right?
Yeah, it really is just like the win condition for Direwolves of winning a fight is just if we can kill Twitch, we can win.
Yeah.
If we can't, there's no there's no chance. And their comp is built for that, right? They've got the Viego and the Akali, 2 champs with executes. And I believe Akali didn't even get time to ult Twitch in this fight. I think she actually just got like nuked super fast. So yeah, I think this point is like sort of the start of the beginning of the end. But they had one more chance. At around 30 minutes, I think Peace is starting the Baron, and Direwolves still have Ezreal alive, so they have a poke champ. And Zoranus was, emphasis on was doing a good job pushing bot lane, but immediately after, he did something extremely troll. Instead of just hitting this inhib, knowing that you are completely useless in a team fight. Like, he actually got the inhib down to like 20% HP, elects not to finish it off and just TP in and just like gets CC'd and died, instead of like getting that bot inhib, which would actually put them in like a pretty good spot, I think. And could maybe have even pushed for a Nexus tower if he stayed, but I just could not believe it. He was doing a good job, like pushing bot, and then he just did that, and it was just all his good work was undone in my mind. So yeah, I would have reported him after that probably. It was pretty annoying. And yeah, after that, I really feel like they were just turbo outscaled and couldn't really win.
Yeah, I think that situation was pretty interesting to me because it, like, just to rewind the clock a bit, there was like a fight like a minute before that where Tien like tries to find an engage on Direwolves, doesn't quite hit, and then they're kind of like walking back, and Direwolves chased just like a little bit too far forward, and that was like really bad for them because Zoranus, like at this point, was still split pushing bot, like he was chilling, and they were like caution pings. I could see them on the map, like don't fight here. But Dante just like walks up too far, like trying to chase and get those Qs off, and then he walks like right into Cheon's like waiting arms, and he gets nuked to like 1 HP, and that's kind of like what made Direwolves lose so much control around that area in the first place. And I feel like Zoranus didn't TP there, so maybe that kind of led into him feeling pressure to TP that second time. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like they just weren't really on the same page like towards the end, and that was ultimately what caused them to lose the game.
Yeah, I agree. So Peace, much needed 2-0. Direwolves 1-1, but still in second place. It'll be interesting to see how long they keep that. I think we'll talk about it a bit later. They have a somewhat easy schedule, but mark my words, despite Direwolves doing very well so far, they will not finish the split top 3.
LCO standings after week 4 are pretty spicy, honestly. We got a little bit of tension in the ladder. The Chiefs still sitting undefeated, 8-0, followed by 4 teams tied for second place. We've got Direwolves, Peace, PGG, and Order, all sitting at 5-3. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of unfolds in the coming weeks. One thing to note is that Direwolves do have like a pretty easy schedule up ahead. They have Mammoth, Gravitas, and Kanga. So this could be sort of their chance to cement themselves further up into second place for now. Whereas PGG have slightly rougher schedule. They've got Chiefs and Order coming up. So this will kind of be, it's kind of like the first test of like who's gonna break first and drop down a little bit. So I think PGG Order especially will be like an interesting one. Mammoth and Kanga tied for 6th place at 2-6, and Gravitas.
Glory.
Welcome back to the LCO Stock Market. You know, the worldwide climate, not looking too hot. We are in a bear climate right now, and I think that tech stocks down, everything down. I don't even want to look at my stocks, but LCO still seeing some movement. And we'll start off with our winner for the week, and that is actually going to be not Peace, but Cheon specifically. Peace has done well. Their stocks are up, but I think more significantly, Cheon has seen a massive improvement, you know, subbing in for Violet, big shoes to fill, but taking peace to a 2-0 week, you know, carrying this dumpster fire of a team to a flawless week.
Whoa, slow down. Look, I agree with you, the Cheon stocks are up, but yeah, Peace as a whole are up, and I think Violet would have won those games, man. I'll just say that.
Violet simp. Moving on to our loser. There always has to be a loser, unfortunately. And it is going to be Gravitas. And I've said that I've ragged on them a lot, and I'm going to say it again, I've ragged on them a lot. But they went through their first round robin without a win. And that, you know, having that idea of like, we are like literally at the bottom of the ladder, right? So, you know, Gravitas, you know, long-term investment, maybe give it like, you know, 10 years. They have had
10 years.
They have had a lot of their players, you know, export to major regions, so they must be doing something right. Anyway, question mark for the week. This one was a bit of a toughie, but it's actually going to go to the PGG bot lane of Praedyth and Rogue. I think we talked about this a little bit, but it's not really the same. It doesn't feel like the same bot lane that we've seen previously, right? They have been like relatively dominant in the past. They took Chiefs to 5 games in playoffs, and now they seem like they're struggling a bit.
Yeah, I think this bot lane, it really used to hit different, and now it kind of hit the same. It's just not really, I don't know, they haven't even played bad, and they're just, yeah, they're not taking it to them like they used to.
They have got some big matches coming up, so those are going to definitely be a big indicator as to like how they're going to be looking.
Yeah, they have a rough schedule.
That's it for the stock market. Let's jump into some LCO moments. In our first clip, we have Corporal sporting a new look, clean look. It's a look, that's for sure.
Aerodynamic.
We should talk about the fact that Corporal just has no hair anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's sticking out like a sore thumb.
So it looks like one too.
I feel like when you shave your head, there's 2 different directions you can go in, right? You can go in the Caps path, or you can go down the WayX path, and those both lead to very different places, as we all know.
That's for sure. Did you see later the casters, they had this pointless discussion about who the best mid laner was, and they didn't even mention me once.
Who's better than Suman right now? You got Tally. Tally 100%.
I saw Tally in Twitch chat as well, and man, he was not happy about that, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad Kitty called out Rusty for his biased opinion, but I do think that Tally's problem isn't the champion pool. Right now I'm speedrunning, offending as many people as possible, but yeah, I don't think Tally's champion pool is a problem.
What is the problem?
Find out next time on the Matchfix.
Looking at the player cams this week, I'm happy to see that Winter has actually made a return with his glorious victory cams. And you know, there's not really too much going on there. It's kind of hard to tell, but I feel like it really spoke to me. You know, it was like an art piece. It felt like a commentary on the grim state of society and how capitalism is like suffocating us constantly and forcing us to avert our eyes, enticing us with these, you know, pretty objects, and you know, making us consume and consume. You know, and we're just blind to the fact that ultimately we're all just slaves to the system.
Damn, that was real deep. I think they were just doing it to fill airtime, but at some point they were discussing Toppy's solo queue win rate.
How long was Toppy's loss streak in solo queue? You have 1 chance.
17.
15.
23.
No, it was 14.
I mean, that was just, it was sad to watch, man. Like, I've burned a lot of bridges in my time, but some lines even I don't cross.
Lastly, of course, the talent team on the LCO pumping out a lot of bangers.
Yes! I need to have some words with his mum.
You were indeed on top of Suman, but I was talking...
Toppy!
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 You know,
Toppy,
I
mate.
do want...
It's a bitch. Karma.
Hi!
nice.
You're still like challenger and like right up there, right? So maybe what happened? Is she not challenger
Does
anymore?
it look like it?
Oh, wow.
Taking a quick look into next week's matches, we do have the first Super Week of the Split. Day 1, we've got Chiefs versus Order as a match that is standing out to me, and probably going to be a Chiefs win. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping there'll be some sort of fight.
An Order apologist to the end.
Yeah, well...
Day 2, looking a little spicy with the PGG Order match. Honestly, not sure who's going to win, so I'm going to leave this one up to you.
Yeah, I mean, you called me an Order apologist, and I'm going to run with that to the end.
I should not have left this up to you.
I'm predicting Order to win this
Oh
one.
my god.
You know, I've checked the calendar. It's about time that they're going to make a turnaround.
Okay.
It's booked in. It's going to happen. Mark my words.
All right.
Never been wrong. Moving on to day 3, we've got 2 matches that are looking like they're going to be absolute bangers.
Banger. I don't even know her.
Chiefs PGG and Peace versus Order. What are your thoughts?
I think Chiefs will pretty soundly beat PGG. I think just PGG, the way they play, it's not quite clean enough. And Chiefs, they're clean as a whistle right now. I'm very happy with their play. And the other game, Peace versus Order. This one, it's going to be interesting. And I think it sets the tone for these teams. Like both of them kind of had maybe higher expectations and they have kind of failed to meet them. I actually think Peace on the rise might beat them. So yeah, I'll cautiously vote for Peace.
My vote's for Order.
It always is. It always is.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Was it as good for you as it was for me? We'll catch you next time for your weekly fix.
I'm so worried it's going to fall.
It looks so good.
It does actually. It's cheesecake, you said, right?
Nice one.
Fantastic.